Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And I realized just as now as we're starting to record, I forgot to tell you about the battery saver thing and the screen timeout because I'm a professional. No, because on iPhones I've noticed that there's a screen timeout, then it somehow interrupts the recording. And I
Okay.
didn't I didn't tell you that before because I'm the worst.
It's all right.
How's your day going?
Good. I mean, I woke up not that long ago, so
You're like I woke
um
up. It's pretty good so far.
yeah, ate breakfast and that's kind of it.
So you're quite busy, I'm sure, doing your thing.
Yeah, surprisingly this year isn't as hectic as last year, but I say that now and who knows, maybe it might get a lot busier,
Yeah,
later down the month, but I kind of just take the gigs as they come. So I'm
yeah,
sure something more stuff will come up. But yeah, this time of year is usually pretty crazy.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure it will now that you said it and put it out in the universe. I'm sure the
Yeah.
floodgates
And
will
then all of
open.
a sudden I'm like running on no sleep. Bus, another club, bus, no sleep.
Yeah, uh, that's the life.
Yeah.
Such such a New Yorker. I often like when I was little, I always wanted to go to New York, but I just never quite made it. I mean, I got closer. I'm in Atlanta, so I'm from California. So
Wait, so you've never been to New York at all?
no, I've been there, but I
Okay.
always wanted to live there.
Oh
But I
yeah,
know it's
yeah.
kind of difficult. It's a hustle.
It definitely is. I actually don't live in the city. I live in Long Island. So
Oh,
it's
Long Island.
Long Island. Um, it's another world out here. But
Oh, I'm sure.
I work in the city and then, I do all my shows. So I'm like, at this point, I feel like, like Manhattan and all that, like that feels more like home to me now.
Yeah,
I'm like literally never in Long Island anymore. I'm here to like sleep and shower, and I feel like that's kind of it.
yeah. I haven't been to Long Island yet. I've only been to Manhattan.
I mean, you're not missing much.
Yeah, I know. It's just like I still am curious sometimes. Like I went to oh God, what's that place in New Jersey? Oh God, I can't remember. It's like, near Princeton. That's right. I went there. Did your
Oh,
screen time? Oh, there you go.
yeah, what's in Princeton? Just
Well, we stayed there because I have a friend that lives there.
okay.
So, but I mean, it was cute. I'm always curious, about like, you go places and you do the touristy shit, and then I'm always curious about like where the real people live.
Yeah, I mean, Long Island is it's suburban.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't belong here anymore. I feel
Oh,
like there's not much here for me.
yeah.
Everything's in, the city. So, and that's where I want to be too. It's
Yeah.
so expensive.
I'm sure it's a lot like here because I live in Atlanta proper, but most people live in the outskirts because it's insane to live here. And the only reason I'm able to live here is because I rent from my friend and he gives me a good deal. So, but otherwise, I'd be in the suburbs somewhere.
Yeah, I've been here my whole life, and I'm just like I'm ready to leave.
Yeah, you should. I mean, I grew up just outside of San Francisco, and as soon as I could get out, I got out. I mean, I love San Francisco, but like I lived in small farming community, and it was not cute.
Yeah, it's just right now it's just like a money thing, just not being able
Yeah,
to afford, and I don't want to put myself in that position of like worrying. Well, how am I gonna pay rent this
right.
month, and bills and groceries and all that other stuff. So I'm just like, let me when the time's right, it'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think about that because it's like I remember when I was a kid, I always wanted to like follow in Madonna's footsteps. I'm like, I'm gonna go to New York and I'm gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, that didn't quite happen. I mean, I went to Seattle when I was 18, and it's funny because I mean, you know the origin story of Madonna, obviously.
Yes.
The whole like taxi cab and then Times Square, yada yada yada.
Yeah, with like $34 in her pocket or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah. Well, when I went to Seattle the first time, like I didn't know the city and we were living out there and we were on a bus and I told my friend, I said, haha, I should tell the bus driver to drop us off in the middle of everything. And then I pulled the cord to get off the bus and then we took a couple steps and I looked up and this building said Times Square and I'm like, that's creepy.
And did you get off there?
We did, but like, well, no, we after we got off, we saw that the building said Times Square and I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
that's funny. I mean, it obviously it didn't happen for me the same way it happened for her.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did you become this huge pop star?
No, I mean, I think in my head I did probably.
Well, that counts for something.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'd have to do a lot with music in order to do that. I mean, I recorded an album a long time ago, but I didn't really do much with it. And it was all like about my ex, so it just kind of sat there. And there's some stuff that I like to retool, but I'm not exactly a musician. I'm more of a singer, so like the music was subpar.
I mean, you could always revisit it and, see what happens.
Yeah. Problem is I have creative ADD, so like I'm like I want to do a song, I want to write a book, I want to do a painting, I want to, apparently do a podcast.
And then, while you're doing it, you're like, oh, you're already thinking about the next project. Because
Yeah,
that's what I do. I'm
exactly.
like, it's like midway through. I'm like, oh, this is, I want to change and do something else. And yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah. Like I have a book that I still need to finish and well, it's hard because it's like when it's your actual life, like as soon as this book is done and put out into the world, then I'm just going to write nothing but fiction.
Yeah, I mean, how far along are you on the book?
It's pretty much done. I mean, it's like 300 pages, and I just need to add like artwork and pictures. But the problem is the editing process, and I feel I'll probably need to pay somebody to edit it because I hate doing that.
Yeah, you probably should. I, you know,
And it's also weird, just like rereading it and like reliving things. And I'm like, why do people write autobiographies again? It's supposed to be healing, but it's just, I mean, it's weird because it's, and I've tried to reread it, and it's just, I feel like it's on the page, it's there, and let somebody else deal with that.
yeah.
So, what do you do in your regular life?
So I work in a hair salon. Um,
Nice.
so last year I put myself through cosmetology school, and yeah, it was a grueling 7 months.
Oh yeah, no, I
And
went to beauty school in like '98. I just never did anything with it because I believe in listening to the universe, and when it says, "Hey, you're on the wrong path," you stop.
yeah, I did this, and it was not what I was expecting. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I got my license, and
Yeah,
yeah. So then I started working at the salon in. Well, I got my license last year in like September, and then just Halloween happened, and it was just like gig after gig, and
yeah,
I was just on this like trajectory, and I just went with it. And then so finally, I got a job in a salon, and I've been here at this salon since January. So I'm
nice.
still apprenticing right now,
Yeah.
which it kind of sucks because I'm doing all the crappy. I feel like I'm a glorified maid.
Oh yeah,
I'm
you're
sweeping
sweeping the
everything.
hair, you're doing the shampoos.
Yeah, and then doing laundry all day long,
Oh my God.
washing bowls of color all day long on my feet. Like It's a lot, and I'm putting like 11 hours in.
Oh,
But I
no.
am getting, they are giving me classes.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, I'm still learning and
Yeah,
still, kind of figuring out what exactly I want to like do with that and stuff like that.
yeah,
So yeah, so when I'm not like doing shows, I'm working in a salon and yeah, but then also still doing shows and stuff on the side.
yeah. Well, that's why your wigs always look so good.
Well, thank you.
I
that's
think.
actually
I'm sorry.
that's actually why I like even decided to pursue cosmetology, because it was like I started doing my own wigs and I was like, oh, I like this and I feel like I'm kind of good at it.
Yeah,
And then cosmetology was just like, it was like I said, it was not what I was expecting at all.
yeah,
It was really hard.
yeah. I got in there and I was like, "What do you mean I have to do nails?" I'm like, "I just want to do hair. I just want to do color."
Yeah, it was like like I hate studying. I'm not school and stuff like that. It's not for me. And then having to take tests and quizzes like
Yeah.
you know every week, and it was, yeah, it was intense.
See, the weird thing is when I took state board, I passed the written and failed the practical. And everybody's like, "Oh, it usually happens in reverse." I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm a good test taker."
Yeah. I do have to say, like, the school that I went to did prepare us very well for
Yeah,
uh, state board, because like we would do like mock state boards, and
yeah,
I took the real one, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in class, like I already did this. Um, yeah, the written I like barely passed, because
mm,
it's like you have to learn all that stuff, like medical terms for nails and
right.
all that other stuff, and yeah, I barely passed that, but I did it.
Yeah. Well, I know why I didn't pass my practical. It's like I think I freaked out, and then these people falling around with clipboards and like lurching over you and making you nervous.
Oh yeah.
When I did an acrylic on my model, I realized that I forgot to take off her nail polish before I did it, and I was like, "Ah, shit."
Oh wait, so you had to do nails?
Yeah, in California, they made you do nails and shit, and I was like, "Really?"
Well, because I we had to learn, like, there was a chapter on nails, but I'm legally I'm qualified to do nails, but I have no idea how to do them.
Yeah, I hate
Because
them.
they did not
I mean, I get
show.
them, believe me, I get my nails done every 2, 3 weeks, but I do not want to do them.
No, I'll stick to I'll paint some fake nails,
Yeah,
but I don't really want to do
yeah,
actual.
I know. It's funny because like people see my nails, they're like, "Did you do those yourself?" I'm like, I don't have the patience or the, yeah, no. Because one would look really good and one would look terrible.
Yeah.
My left hand would look terrible because I'm left-handed. So like doing that,
Mhm.
yeah, there's just no way. Um, but yeah, I just realized that it wasn't for me. The first time I got lost because it was like an hour away and then early in the morning. The second time, passed the written, failed the practical. And then the third time, um, I had a mini nervous breakdown and just left at the break. And I was like,
Oh
nope,
my
this isn't
god.
for me. I just knew.
I'm
I was like, I'm doing so terrible and this isn't going to work and we're done.
I'm like insane because I did both of them in the same day.
Oh, the written
I
and the
just
practical?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did too.
which I just wanted to get them both out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very nerve-wracking process, and I think about it sometimes because I'm like, well, if I were doing it now, I'm like, oh, my carpal tunnel syndrome. I don't know. And I think it was fun, but like at the time, I really had no direction, and my best friend went to beauty school. I'm like, I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna go to beauty school, and then you go and it's like not, you know, it's not what you thought. I thought it was gonna be a joke.
Yeah.
Uh,
The one we went to, it was like bargain basement. Like it was not the cream of the crop. Our freshman teacher, She was something else. I remember one time she used to wear the press-on nails, and she lost one, and somebody found it on the floor and threw it in the garbage. And she went and fished it out of the garbage and put it back on, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Nice.
I was like, "And you're trying to teach us like hygiene and like safety and
Yeah,
stuff."
yeah, literally.
It's like, okay, yeah, that was it was fun. I mean, I was like 20 and just thought it was the best time, and I wasn't paying for it, so
Oh, I paid for it and I'm broke now.
yeah,
And
no,
it's
it's
really
it's expensive. It's an expensive venture, but at least you are able to you found a job and you're able to get I guess get all sorted. I'm trying to think of the
yeah, yeah, and I went to school in the city, which I loved being there all the time, and now I work in the city too. So it's just it's just only a matter of time before I actually like live there. But like I just being there all the time made me just like fall in love with it even more.
yeah.
You know.
I need to go back. I haven't been since 2015, and it's high time.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I went was like, it was one of those where it's like you can't really top it because, I went in 2000 and that was the whole like Madonna Fantasia.
Mhm.
That's when I
Yeah.
I won the silly little MTV contests and met her and all that. Well,
I
it always,
remember though the good times of winning,
yeah,
winning like my sister used to like she used to be so lucky with that. She'd always win those like radio station
yeah,
contests and like she'd get like, free concert tickets and I remember like even driving to like one of the local radio stations here in Long Island because she won like some VHS tape or something because she
yeah,
answered like a question right.
yeah. I don't know. It's just weird because like I always think about it. And it's like when I say it, I'm like, who wins MTV contests though? Like,
I remember the good old days of like TRL when it was
yeah,
still in Times Square, and you would just like look out and you'd see like a celebrity or something
yeah.
in the window. This was the good old days.
I know. It's crazy now. Like MTV doesn't play music anymore.
I know.
Oh well, maybe someday. Um, so I did actually have a question in my brain, and it came back. Uh, no, it was just what got you into performing? It's a two-parter, I guess. What got you into performing, but also what got you into horror? Because I know that the two were very connected.
Yeah, horror has always just been a part of me. Like ever since I was little. I grew up around it because, my sister, she's 13 years older than me, and she practically raised me, because, like, when my mom was working, she would, babysit me, and
Yeah,
she was always, like, big into horror, so she introduced me at an early age. I have my sister to thank, like, for my music taste and movie taste because she, it's all because of her. So horror has just always been, something that's been around, and in a weird way, it's comforting to me. Uh, I grew up with it, and it's always been there. So it was just inevitable for me to just like, I guess go deeper into it, and it's something that like me and my sister shared. I
yeah,
have very fond memories of like going to Blockbuster or like the local mom and pop video shop and we would go like rent tapes. Um and then we would watch them together and performing you know, like every other fag, I started watching Drag Race and I was like, "Oh my god, I love this. I want to do this."
yeah,
And so that was kind of like my introduction, but I was always like interested, I guess in perform. Like I would. always like kind of fantasize about like, being on stage and performing and, you know, but mostly like, doing like a rock concert or something like that. And
Yeah.
but I was always just like it's too shy and I never thought that would actually happen. And then, I discovered drag and it was like, oh my God, like I knew of drag queens, but I didn't know it could be taken to the level that it was being done at.
Right.
So I first discovered Drag Race like randomly. I was like channel surfing. It popped on and it was season 4. And that was just like so eye opening. And then, that kind of, I guess I caught the bug and I was like just obsessed and just, I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So it was just only a matter of time. And then finally I was like, I would, start buying makeup and practicing on myself. And um, I used to like go to concerts too. Like I would, put white powder face and smeared black lipstick, and I'd go to like a concert. And so then it was just a matter of practicing and making sure I look good. And then finally it was like it just felt like a fire inside me. I was like, I need to do this. It's
Yeah.
something that I had to do.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 7, yeah, I'm going on like 7 years now. 7 years ago, I went to this Halloween party in Long Island. It was this like, you know, LGBTQ youth center. And I went there like fully done up and I was not planning on performing. Um, but, they had like a little costume contest, which turned into like a little runway walk and a top 3 lip sync. And I wanted to perform, but I was like too, I guess, scared. And I feel like I really needed that push from,
Yeah.
doing that little top 3 lip sync, whatever. And that kind of kickstarted. I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then I liked it. And then, when you're on stage, just the adrenaline you feel when you're on stage, it's this feeling that, it's really amazing. So that kind of like kickstarted and got me to start performing.
Yeah. I used to always say that the performance was sex and then the applause was the orgasm.
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it definitely is.
I used to perform once upon a time, but I started before Drag Race and I didn't exactly do drag. It's just it was whatever. And I didn't have really, I didn't have a name for it or I just did whatever I wanted and at the time, I think that that wasn't as much of a thing. Like there's no Drag Race, there was no Dragula, there was no not a lot of freaky drag. Um,
Yeah.
so there are some days when I feel like I started too soon, but now it's a lot of work, and I haven't actually done a show since 2016, and that was a benefit. And I'm just like semi-retired, but my stage name is Boydonna.
Love that.
Well, I did a show one time and everybody's like it was a benefit for I think they have them everywhere, like the Imperial Star Empire.
Hmm.
I was part of that once upon a time and I did a show and they're like, "Oh, well, what's your name?" And I just said Nick. And then my friend Ellis ran up and he said, "This is Boydonna." I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I have a name now." And I did shows and I had my own show for a little bit. I had a variety show in Atlanta, but it didn't do well because they gave me a Thursday. So I don't know. And it just like it's very competitive. It's a very um I don't know. I love drag. I love performing. I love all the aspects, but it just is kind of hard sometimes depending on what show you're in and who you're working with and also the bars that you're working with.
Yeah, I mean that definitely it all factors into it as well. And you know, I've done shows for like a crowd of 5 people, and I've done shows where there's been a lot more.
Yeah.
It It's just, like you said, it is a lot of work. Like it's so much work, and oftentimes I ask myself, like, why do I do this?
Yeah,
Because it's like so much work. It's painful,
yeah,
but it's like just something that I love so much that I can't not do it.
yeah, definitely. I think it was even worse for myself. I mean, because I sang live, and that made it even. I don't know. I think this. I don't know. I remember I would when I started, I would get out on stage and just sing, and everybody would kind of cock their head and be like, "What's happening?" Because I don't think a lot of people did, and but then I would do things like Tori Amos and Susie and the Banshees and Madonna and whatever, and uh, I think the places I was playing, people wanted just like top 40.
Yeah, you kind of have to like feel the crowd and see what they want, and
Yeah, but I
you
mean,
know.
like my idol, I never wanted to compromise my artistic integrity, so
No,
I
I get that
didn't.
too. But there's times when it's like, you know, you're like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and then there's other times where you're like, well, I need the money, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
do this top 40 song because I need those tips.
yeah.
Um,
Like one of the last shows I did, I booked nothing but like people that I wouldn't normally work with and people that were super popular. And it was like, then we got a crazy crowd, but I was like, I felt like I caved. And that really wasn't the direction I wanted to go in. Cause like I had burlesque people and I had people do like, like skits from plays and I had somebody play the dulcimer and it was all over the place because I kind of wanted it to be like the Sonny and Cher show, like this variety hour
oh
because it was
my
called the
god, that's
Boy Donna
amazing.
Variety Show, and um, I don't know. I think that a lot of people just didn't really know what to make of it, and it only lasted 6 months. So,
I mean, 6 months is still,
yeah,
a
it's
pretty good
something.
amount.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's challenging. Um, and then I think I wanted to use my energy in other places.
Yeah, that's fair.
So maybe someday, I don't know, maybe I'll. But I mean, it's hard because like when you're a perfectionist, and then it's the choreography and the vocals and the costumes and all the things, and just by the time you finally get on stage, you're exhausted.
Oh, I know. It's I you spend all this time getting ready, and
Hmm.
and then it's like, no, now you actually have to go work and do the show, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Well, and then all of them start at like 11 or some shit, and I'm like, can we start at like 8?
Yeah. I'm I feel like an old lady sometimes too. I'm like,
Yeah.
give me a nice crisp like 8 p.m. I'm good.
Yeah, and then the things switch, and like they have the order, and then they switch the order, and then it's like, oh, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, and then like drag time, even just well, not even just drag time, but gay time. I'm like, I'm very punctual, so I can't stand that. Um, so what also, I guess, what got you into Madonna? Because I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, so once again, I have my sister to thank for that.
Oh,
Uh, because, like I said, she's 13 years older than me, so she grew up on Madonna. So I was introduced at a very early age to like who's that girl,
mhm,
and she bought me the Immaculate Collection.
mhm.
So those two things, it's like that's really what got me into it. And and then as I got older, I started, you know, doing like a deeper dive into the rest of her discography and all that, and just like falling in love with, with everything.
Yeah, I think that I've talked about it with my Madonna friends out here, and I think we talked about going next year to New York for all the festivities because I just feel like New York does it better. I mean, Atlanta's good, but like the place that normally does the Madonna-rama, they did not do it this year. They're like, well, everybody else is doing it. I'm like, but you do it better, so you need to do it.
Yeah.
And I would love to go to Madonna worship because I almost went one year, but then everything kind of fell apart and I wasn't able to go. I think I got sick. Um, but yeah,
And if you go to any Madonna show, Madonna worship is the
yeah.
show to go to.
You did who's that girl, right? Last time? Or
So
not?
yeah, I've this was my third year doing it. Um, actually, yeah. So my first time I ever did it was during the pandemic on Zoom.
Oh my God.
Um, and that was the first time I did Who's That Girl?
Hmm.
And I at this time I did not really know about digital drag and pre-recording a video like everybody else.
Yeah.
So here I am in my room in the middle of August performing.
Oh my goodness.
It was rough. I really hope there's no videos that exist of that because it was really bad. Like you could hear the heels clacking on
Oh
the
my
floor.
goodness.
It was really, really bad. Um,
Yeah.
but then finally, when things opened back up, um, and we were able to like do stuff in person, I was like, I need a redo of this. So I did my first one I ever did was Who's That Girl? I did Nikki Finn.
Mhm.
So I did a mix of like Who's That Girl and Causing a Commotion, I think. And
Yeah. Oh wait, you did
and
erotica last time. No.
yeah, so well last year I did Desperately Seeking Susan and I
Okay.
did Into the Groove.
Okay.
And then this year, um I did um Erotica Into Fever from the Girly Show tour.
Yes. Ugh, I love it. Yeah, I feel like all that fucking choreography is like still ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, and you know what? Because like this, so it's always that event is always done at Stonewall,
Mhm.
and Stonewall is legendary and iconic and historical, but
Mhm.
it is so small,
Yeah.
and in the middle of August when it's like packed,
Yeah.
it is so hot,
Oh yeah.
like unbelievably hot with all the people and the small space and everything. It's still great, but this year was at $3 Bill in Brooklyn,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is this huge stage. And that was actually my first time performing there. I've been there many times, but I never got the chance to perform. And I was like, if I have this huge stage, I want to take like full advantage. So I had
Right.
like backup dance. My friends were backup dancing for me, and it was so much fun, and it was like so packed. Like
Yeah.
it's a really big space, and it was like so many people there. It was really an amazing experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we'll definitely have to go next year, which God, it's gonna be 2024 before we know it, because we're already in October. That's crazy.
I know.
That's how you know you're old when you start talking about the passage of time or the weather.
Yeah. No, it's crazy though. Like I can't believe it's already October, and the time goes by like so fast.
Yeah. I wish it would go by even faster because I would like it to be November, or at least mid-November. I'm right now, normally I work in the entertainment industry. I'm like a glorified personal assistant, but since the strike, I've been working managing Spirit Halloween, which I love, but also it's a lot. And so, yeah, I look forward to November.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So, because it's hard, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, this party and this thing and Halloween," and I'm like, "I can't do anything. I have to work."
Yeah.
I'm like,
That.
I'm working for Halloween. I cannot. So, and then when I get done with the season, then I look at my roommate and I'm like, "Can we start decorating for Christmas now? I need another holiday." Um, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to just get back to regular world. I think, I think it's good when things shift and make you pivot because that way it makes you appreciate more.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the pandemic taught us all that we need to pivot.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite Madonna song?
Oh my god. um, I, I know, like, I feel like it always changes, but like, if I just like had to just say something off the top of my head, I'd probably say like "Into the Groove," just
Hmm.
because like I don't know, it always puts me in like such a good mood, and I feel like that song just I feel like it just sounds very New York,
Yeah.
like early New York, and I love that. Um, but there's just so many. It's hard to like choose.
Oh,
Um,
my favorite
yeah.
is "Till Death Do Us Part,"
Oh, okay.
hands down. I just think it's such a happy sounding song, but the lyrics are so not, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very jarring in that juxtaposition. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Oop. Yeah, I'm recording in my car.
Nice.
Well, because there was so much sound in the house, and I was like, I need silence between the animals and roommates and things.
Yeah.
But I had to open the door because it was hot. So like, if I run the engine and the air conditioning, then it's going to be like interference.
Hmm.
So I'm also a big fan of favorites. So what's your favorite scary movie? The two important things, horror and Madonna, you know?
Um, you know, I so probably like I would say Basket Case,
Hmm.
um, because I have an obsession with like New York City in the 70s and the 80s, and that movie just like is just the epitome of like, you know, New York
Yeah.
in that era, and it's the perfect blend of like camp and sleaze and
Mhm.
horror, and yeah, it's just so good. It's so fun, and it's campy and stupid and just, but it has that like sleaziness to it, which I love.
Yeah.
um so but like my favorites are always changing, but yeah, I usually, when people ask me, I usually say that.
Yeah. I think my favorite, I don't know. I mean, it's not really a horror movie, but I think it's horror. Like Silence of the Lambs is like hands down. It still scares me every time.
I mean, it's a classic for
Yeah.
sure.
But then I love things like Candyman. Like both of them are amazing. And The Cell, which that's not a horror movie, but I don't know. I like things that are actually like, like psychological horror that could
I
actually
mean, The
happen.
Cell is so visually stunning. It's such a beautiful film, and
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez with that thing on her face,
Hmm.
and the high ponytail with the
Yeah.
red tips. Oh my god, I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Yeah. I,
And Candyman's amazing.
yeah.
I actually really like all of them.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if I love part two, but
Yeah, part two is a little but yeah, I mean, I definitely loved the newer version because I felt like I was worried that it was going to be a reboot, but it's just a continuation.
yeah, which was really interesting. I did enjoy it. And the soundtrack, or not the soundtrack, but the theme music or the
Yeah,
score to the original is like, it's incredible.
yeah. Oh, and also speaking of the cell, it made it really. I think I was doing cartwheels inside, but I was very composed on the outside. But one of the shows that I did, Vincent D'Onofrio was on there, and like I went to go bring something on set, and he was like standing right next to me, and I was like, because everybody's like, "Oh, he's from this and he's from that." And I'm like, "He's in the cell," and he's like standing right next to me. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like just picturing that scene with the that cape that he had going down the stairs.
Oh, like it is such a visually stunning movie. Like
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
I'm
I
surprised that
really
that.
enjoy that one too.
I'm just surprised that that director didn't do much more because he did that and he did The Fall, and I think that was it.
Yeah, I'm not too like familiar with like the director, but
I think
yeah,
it's
I
Tarsim. No, I could be wrong.
um yeah, Jennifer Lopez in that movie. That just like, I love that look
Yeah.
with the red high pony. So
Hmm.
good.
And then, of course, I like the Scream movies, but my opinion is always unpopular because Scream 3 is my favorite.
Interesting.
Well, Parker Posey makes anything better.
And Courtney Cox's bangs.
Oh, well, honorable mention. Well, and it's got
Yeah.
some really good lines in it. I always say deja voodoo. I
Oh
love
my
my
god.
lawyer liked that. I don't.
Like when the new, I think it was like when Scream 5 was coming out, I did like a rewatch
Mhm.
of like, the sequels, and unpopular opinion, but they just didn't really hold up for me that much.
Yeah, they are a little dated. I mean, I
I
love
mean,
them. They're
the
fun.
first one
Yeah,
is like untouchable. Like that is,
yeah,
I can't even tell you how many times I've seen that.
yeah,
Um, but the sequels just like they just like don't do it for me that much.
yeah. I think four is probably my least favorite, and that's the one I've only seen it once. I probably should watch it again. I don't know. I mean, it's fun, like as a whole, like the whole franchise and everything, and I still watch them all.
Yeah, I haven't even seen part 6 yet.
Oh, it's good. I saw it in the theater. It's real fun. It's very. There's a lot of nods to all the other films, and it's very like
And I'm kind of tired of that though. Like I'm kind of, with all these whatever you call it legacy sequels or whatever,
yeah,
and it's just like thrown it in your face. Like, yeah, I appreciate the little Easter eggs here and there, but it's just like overload at this point.
yeah.
You know, bringing Billy back as like a ghost, like completely unnecessary.
I know, but we get to see Skeet Ulrich again, and he's good to look
I,
at.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just so like cynical and jaded. I'm just like a jaded horror fan. Like, there's no
Oh,
place in me.
yeah. I was just speaking of Billy. Do you think that Billy and Stu were sleeping together? Because I kind of do,
Yeah.
or at least I hope they were.
I do appreciate seeing all those like the fan fiction and the memes and whatever, and
Yeah,
yeah, they should be.
yeah. Well, they're sleeping together in purgatory or whatever, wherever they wound up.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think the franchise is really fun. I'm trying to talk myself out of. We have a Scream mask at work that has like fake like bling on it, and then they also have the
Oh
knife
god.
that has it too. And I'm like, I don't need it, but it's pretty.
But you get a discount,
I
so
do.
right
I
there
do.
you go.
Yeah,
I'm a bad influence. I'm like, if you get a discount, I'm like, yeah, then
I know.
snatch that up.
Well, I would like to actually retain some of my paycheck.
We- yeah, so maybe maybe not then. Maybe
Yeah,
hold off.
I mean, I bought a few things, but like mostly practical. I mean, I think the only thing that I got that wasn't because I wound up getting there was a Pumpkin King sign and it said, "All hail the Pumpkin King." I'm like, well, that's my name everywhere, so I need that sign. So that's practical, I
Yeah.
guess. And then I had to buy the Miss Argentina stuffed animal from
I
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I don't think I bought anything this year. I only went like once or twice, I think, to Spirit Halloween. I bought more stuff last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I mean, I've enjoyed working there. It's a lot. Like 3 months feels like 2 years almost or so because it's just so like there's so much in just a short time. And
And
then
work in retail just, it sucks your soul.
yeah,
It's hard.
oh yeah. But it's also difficult too because like I never thought about like how they are made. Like you have to build the entire store, like all the fixtures and things, and that takes that like 12 days for each store.
Jesus Christ.
And I built 3 stores this year.
Oh my God.
So my brain's okay with it. My body's like, can we not? And then I keep going.
Yeah.
I may be breaking down 4 stores this year. Like, what am I doing? Oh, I'm getting
Okay.
paid. That's what I'm doing until I can resume a normal life.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Yeah. I mean, but it is fun. I work with a lot of good people.
And
So that
that's always
helps.
important.
Yeah, it is. I mean, hopefully you like the people that you're working with.
I do, and that's what makes, putting in 11 hours like
Yeah, that's a long day.
manageable. because even I worked retail before, and I think what kept me there, I did it for like maybe 2 years, and I think what kept me there for that long was I enjoyed the people I worked with.
Right. I think
So
I think as far as retail, the worst thing I did, and it didn't last long, is I worked at Walmart for like a month. And
I would not want to do that.
no, it was terrible. And it was when I moved to Chattanooga, and it was like during Easter, so it was all like the Bible Belt and like these, hordes of church folk. And I was like, I can't do this. I tried.
Yeah, I would not do Walmart like that.
Yeah,
Just because I shop at Walmart very frequently, um, and I see how it is and how people treat the store, and
yeah.
that's one thing. When you work retail, you have like a complete different appreciation or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
You're like, if I'm like shopping with my mom or something, and she'll like leave something where it doesn't belong, I'm like, put that back.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny
Because
because
I know what it's like.
yeah, I'll be at work helping customers and I'll be talking to them, but then I'll look to the side and I'll see something in the wrong area. And I'm like, follow me. And I'm just like, I have to do housekeeping. Keep talking. Because it's like if I see something in the wrong area, or if I see like a peg on the wall, like an empty peg, I'm like, I tell everybody, I'm like, this makes me very angry. I don't want to see empty pegs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm peddling the right material. I'm selling Halloween. Uh,
Yeah,
Years ago, I worked at a porn shop, and that felt right too. But that's a
I
weird
love
job
that.
too.
Love that.
My mother used to call me a smut peddler, and I was like, yeah,
Accurate. Yeah.
yeah. But she would tell all her friends that I worked at a bookstore. I'm like, well, yeah, sure. I wouldn't call
We
them
sell
books.
books.
Yeah, yeah. My Christian mother was not very happy about that, and I was like, I'm employed. I do.
What like year was this when you
That
were working?
was 2000. Um,
Oh, okay, so it was still kind of sleazy, right?
yeah, we had the
Oh,
boost.
I love.
I know, but it was funny because like the assistant manager, whose name was Richard, but everybody called Dick, and it was a very appropriate name
Hmm.
because he was. He used to try and tell us that we needed to go and like if we caught them like doing their business in the booth, like we had to like stop them, and I was like, "You're
I
kidding
thought
me."
that's what you go there for.
Yeah. And also, he told us the story about how somebody punched him in the face because he told him to stop. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, why would you tell them to stop? Like that's kind
I
of the
know.
point of like
Yeah,
going there. Like,
I know. And then my friend Lana, she used to, when she worked there, she would go back there with a whip and then she'd like crack the whip and say, all right, fellas, zip it up. And I thought that
I'm
was
sure
great.
she probably could make a lot of money though.
I know. They probably enjoyed that actually.
I know.
Um, yeah. And it was just funny because I remember the Dick, the assistant manager, I remember he like, I was very it took a while to get, I guess, experienced and break away from naivete. But I just remember he found out that I had never gone to a bathhouse, and he's like, "You're gay, and you've never been to a bathhouse." And I'm like, "I didn't know there was a rule book." I mean, I have sense, and it was really weird because I'm awkward, and so I don't belong in most social settings. But yeah, it's funny. And I think that's why when I was younger, I wasn't sure about coming out because I think at the time there was only a certain type of gay that you saw.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not me. I'm like, I didn't know that you could be your own gay or whatever, you could be unique in yourself. Because growing up and in high school, that was very much the opposite. You could not be yourself. You had to be what everybody else wanted you to be. Uh,
Yeah. And I mean that's similar for me too.
how
Because
old were you when you came out?
I was I came out a little bit later. I was like 19 going on 20.
Okay.
So it was like 3 months before my 20th birthday.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it was also kind of back to like drag race and all that. I feel that show definitely helped me come out because, once again, you kind of feel like you have to fit a certain mold, and then it's like you see this show with all these like queer people, and it's like, you know, it was definitely eye opening for me because, I also I didn't really have any like queer openly queer people that I looked up to growing up. All the people that I looked up to were like rock stars and,
Right.
men that wore makeup, and but I didn't, I never, I guess, correlated the two or whatever. And it was like I loved heavy metal and horror, but then it was like, oh, but like, are gay people supposed to like heavy metal and horror? It
Yeah.
was very that, and then it finding myself and finding all that,
Yeah.
the queerness and
Yeah, it was confusing because I remember one time I painted my nails and I was headed to school and my mom saw that I had black nail polish and she freaked out, and she mainly freaked out because like she thought it could be associated with me being gay. And then later on my sister had to talk to her and she's like, rock stars and like straight people wear nail polish. It's not that. I mean,
and that's the thing too. It was like that was always like I was always interested in that,
yeah,
and that's why, like, maybe that's why I was like so attracted or so drawn to um certain rock stars and whatever, because it was like you could get away. It was drag,
yeah,
they were wearing makeup and painting their nails and
yeah.
lipstick and big hair and all that, and I was just so drawn to that always.
Hmm.
And but I grew up, during the time, and you probably did too, when being gay was not cool. It was, it was not acceptable, whatever.
Yeah,
But being a rock star was,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it
I
was,
um I came out in 1991, and that was not. I was the only one, and it was not taken very well. I was like, oh, people like me and accept me for who I really am, and um, but it certainly gave me thick skin, and at the time, I kind of freaked out and thought, oh, what am I doing? And I maybe shouldn't have done this. And years later, everybody called me brave, and I didn't think it was brave because I was freaked out and I didn't know what I was doing. But then you
hmm
have to realize that being brave, you should be scared as hell and you should be freaked out. Being
yeah,
brave doesn't mean you have a sword and a shield.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
and even if you do, you're still terrified. But Madonna was really what made me come out because, Truth or Dare came out and the whole tagline was the ultimate dare is to tell the truth. And I did.
Yeah, and that's what makes me sad about, like, the gays today. I feel like they've turned their backs on her,
That's
and
another reason. That's another way you're getting older is when you say the case did it.
it's true though. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of them have turned their backs on her, but they forget like what she has done for, like,
Hmm.
the community, and the fact that she was doing stuff like that when it
Yeah.
was not acceptable, and
Yeah.
she was advocating for like HIV and all this stuff, and it's like people forget that.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend once tell me they said, she wasn't just an ally or she isn't. She was like in the trenches with us. And I believe that's true.
Yeah.
Because a lot of like, well, there were a lot of um, entertainers or divas or whatever, what have you, that were gay friendly. Not many of them were really as,
No,
uh,
she was at the forefront,
yeah, yeah,
and when she was doing it, she was at like the highest. She was like the biggest celebrity,
yeah,
and she did not have to do that,
yeah,
but she did. She could have, she could have lost it all, and but she was like, no.
yeah. I have so many people that go, oh, stole Vogue from the gay community or the black gay community. I'm like, she didn't steal it. She elevated them. She uplifted the community. She brought attention to a community that otherwise
Exactly. Once
probably,
again, she put it at the forefront.
yeah. And her dancers, like Jose, he still talks about how it was a good thing and how, you know, I think Madonna changed so many people's lives for the better, and I think people forget that.
Yeah, and I don't know if voguing and ballroom culture would be,
No,
you know, where it is, today, or if it would still be like as alive if it wasn't for her, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, and people like to call it like, oh, it's appropriation or she stole it. Like she never stole it. She's always said, she's always tried to elevate certain groups, or she never is like, oh yeah, I created this myself. This is mine. You know, I came up with it, all me. Um,
Exactly.
she's always paid homage and um, been very vocal about where the inspiration came from. And in
Exactly.
and in effect, like I've learned a lot about people and artists and books and musicians that I never really would have known. I mean, maybe I would have discovered them eventually, but it's like, I got into, Keith Haring and Basquiat and Frida Kahlo and Joni Mitchell and Martha Graham and just all these people because of her. And
Yeah.
so many books and so many things like The Alchemist I read because she mentioned it. I was like, okay. And I don't really care about how you find out about these things. It's like, well, you know, you did, and if it enriches your life, then cool.
Exactly.
But everybody wants to, like she said, in '95, and during an interview, she said, when I'm dead, they'll finally kiss my ass, and I believe it'll be true.
That's how it always is with any celebrity. It's like, all of a sudden it's like a celebrity dies and then everybody's like the biggest fan.
Yeah, and
It's like, well, I'll remember all of you that were talking shit about her
yeah,
and making fun, so don't even.
yeah. Although I have an agreement and I have to go first, so she has to outlive me because I can. Because everybody, like, when she was sick, everybody, like, my phone blew up and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't want to think about it right now."
Oh my
Next subject. Because I didn't let my brain wander too much because then I would have spiraled and I was like, okay, she's going to be fine. Let me
Yeah.
just not think about this.
Did you see that? I don't know if it was like New York Post or New York Times or whatever. They put her on the cover and they did her so dirty. They put Bacterial Girl.
Oh, yeah. They always
They
do.
were they were so actually, I mean, it was, yeah. They did her so dirty.
Well, I think New York Post, weren't they the ones that posted that, what a tramp, the Justify My Love era?
Probably. I mean, everybody's always been trying to drag her down
Yeah,
since the beginning.
yeah. I know she's the eternal whipping boy. And I think that she doesn't get enough credit. And it's not, it's so many things. Like people don't realize how smart she is and what a good businesswoman she is and how musically talented she is. Everybody wants to talk about, the shocking aspect or like her looks or whatever. And everybody, I bought this really cool True Blue. It was like a record, but it was like a cutout, so it had the image on in the record. Um,
Mhm.
and the woman there, I told her I was a big fan, and she's like, "Oh, I liked her in the '80s, blah blah blah." And then she goes, "Well, what did she do to her face?" And I'm like, "I am tired of that question." And I just said to the woman, I said, "It's her face. She can do whatever she wants with it."
That's what I'm saying. It's like, why is everybody so fixated? I think she still looks incredible.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And everybody's like, "Oh, she looks like an alien." I'm like, "Well, a lot of those are Instagram filters. She doesn't really completely look like that." And
well,
we
you know what? She's a gorgeous alien.
Yes,
So
and we all use filters. I don't care who you are, people doctor themselves, and we have this. The way we portray ourselves in social media is very different than who we really are, everyone. I love watching people take selfies because it's always interesting because they're like smiling and happy, and the minute the camera's off, then they go and look morose.
yeah, and it's if she doesn't put any filters on her photo, they're gonna be talking about how old she is and
Yeah,
how wrinkled and this and that, whatever. And it's like if she puts too many filters, then they're always gonna be talking.
yeah, yeah. She
They're
can't
always gonna
win.
have something to say. No,
Yeah, and they wouldn't ask that if she were a man.
No, they wouldn't.
I had somebody ask me that, and I looked at him and I said that, and he was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I would." I'm like, "No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't at all." Nobody asks like, "Oh, Bob Dylan, he's looking pretty old," or Paul McCartney, or um, God, Axl Rose. I saw him lately, and I was like, "Good God, hard hard living."
Yeah.
Because that man used to be beautiful, and David Lee Roth too. It's just like, but nobody says it. It's like it's fine. Men can look like shit, and women have to keep up with a certain image.
I know, and you know what? Like the fact that I know, and I hate to bring up her age, but like the fact that at her age she's still doing all this stuff. It's like that's really incredible.
Yeah,
Like I guarantee none of you other people at her age are putting on a world tour and
yeah,
doing the stuff that she's doing.
yeah. And sadly, I also feel like I know, how they talk about women and aging and everything else, and I feel like the gay community is a lot like that too. Like
Hmm.
at a certain age, you should be put out to pasture, and it's yeah, it's very much. I feel like we have that ideal in our head that that whole self-image that women do,
Yeah,
and it's not fair and it's unrealistic.
I mean to an extent, I think
I mean,
it
it's
is
gotten
pretty fair.
better.
I think so too. I feel like now you know it's definitely more embraced to like you don't need to have like a chiseled six pack body
Yeah.
anymore.
But I still do see people on the apps that are still like no fats, no femmes, no Asians, no blacks, no this, no that. So, and there's this weird phenomenon too that I see a lot of gay men dating somebody that looks exactly like them, and it's creepy. It's
Yeah.
narcissistic. Like,
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely gotten better. I mean that those types of people are always going to be around, but I
yeah,
definitely think it's gotten better than where it was.
yeah. And I think it always will. It just takes time to get to a good place, and hopefully, it doesn't backfire and go the other way,
Yeah.
like how this country did. But that's another subject. I have a couple opinions.
Mhm.
Anyway, well, I think I will wrap this up um, before I get into a tangent on politics because I've talked enough about that already. But I very much appreciate you being on here.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And do you have anything to plug other than
Yeah,
yourself?
so um I mean, you can find me on all social media platforms under Coma White NYC. If you want to support me, you could buy a T-shirt with my gorgeous face on it,
I need to do
and
that. I've been meaning to. I will, I promise.
and yeah, every month I host horror trivia at Rock Bar, which is located in the West Village of Manhattan. So that's a lot of fun. So coming up at the end of the month, we have our next installment of horror trivia, which I'm very excited about. And the sponsor for one of the sponsors for this month is Something Weird Video, which I'm
Nice.
very, very excited about because I've been a huge, huge fan of theirs for so long.
Yeah.
And then I will be hosting a Halloween show
Yay.
on actual Halloween, which is gonna be a trauma Halloween show. So
Be
very
amazing.
excited about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the trivia, I think my friend Ricky won the last one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. Well, he's why I got into the whole podcasting thing. 'Cause I was on his and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
And you know what? Good. I'm glad.
And I feel like I told him yesterday, I was like, I need to give you like residuals because I feel like I mentioned you and you came up with the name for the podcast and I mentioned your podcast. So
Yeah, he's great. He's been coming to all the trivia, so I'm super appreciative of that. And yeah, we've gotten to like get to know each other a little bit
yeah.
better, and he's a great guy.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's why I just like I keep meeting people that live in New York, and I'm like, why don't I live there? Oh yeah, it's expensive.
Exactly. New York is the place to be.
Well, the thing is, every time I try and leave Atlanta, I get some opportunity. Like, I used to work at a doggy daycare. I was there for 13 years, and then pandemic happened, and I was like, well, maybe it's time to go. And then I got a job in the entertainment industry. I'm like, okay, well, there's lots of filming in Atlanta. I guess I'm staying. So,
Yeah, I mean, at least come visit, you
oh
know.
yeah, no, definitely. I need to do that once I get back to regular, and I can have weekends off and just maybe make like a crazy weekend trip
Yeah.
and go go on a rampage. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And I definitely will talk to you soon. And I definitely will buy a shirt. And I'll whore you out even more.
Oh, please do. I love being hoard out.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah, you know.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. Bye.